So, this episode is about the opening of Rarity's new boutique in Manhattan. I remember Rarity's boutique back in season 5. It was my first review that got any attention. I didn't get that much feedback, but it was enough to keep me going. This reminds me, Silver-Quill uploaded his review of it the other day. I should probably check it out.
But let me shift y'all's attention towards Tricky Fox.
Wait, I must have misheard that. This can't be real. Is this a prank?
Another reviewer who had this observation.
You see, Rarity is less of a fashion designer than a tailor. What's the difference? I would define a fashion designer as a person who designs clothes for the masses, while a tailor is a person who makes clothes for an individual.
By Celestia's beard, this is legit. Now how can I profit from that? Hello, I'm Silver-Quill, and I want to talk about the new rising star of the analyst community, Tricky.
Oh, this will end in tears.
Silver-Quill? What are you doing here?
I'll answer your question with a question. Why do you look like me? Do you know what happened to the last person who tried to impersonate me?
No.
Let's just say he suffered natural causes. It was only natural, given what I did.
I know a good place to grab a snack. It's on me. Please have mercy.
Ah, my 87th weakness. Free food.
After the gift of the mod pie, it was only a matter of time until we get this episode. As I mentioned in my review with Forest Pile, I really liked that they included that subplot in preparation for the Saddle Row review, instead of dropping some lines of exposition to explain that Rarity now has a boutique in Manhattan out of nowhere, like they did in Canterlot Boutique. But I still have a minor problem with this setup. Canterlot Boutique established that Rarity only wants to sell her own work. Every dress must be something she made herself. She doesn't like mass production at all. I still stand by my statement that Rarity is more of a tailor that makes clothes for an individual. She still creates dresses out of her own artistic drive and sells them, but from a business point of view, they are more something to draw attention to her craft. That's fine, and I fully support this kind of ambition. But it's somewhat counterproductive to open a third boutique if this is the case. In theory, this is a good thing, but what nobody considers is the mere workload. Something I already pointed out in my Gift of the Mod Pie review. She needs a selection of dresses to display and sell in every single one of her boutiques at all times, while her bread and butter should be commissions. Now she has to make dresses for 3 stores and still has to deal with custom orders. While she is much faster at making dresses than any human being thanks to her magic, it should still result in a work overload, but to be fair, it kinda fits her character. Rarity has always been a very ambitious pony and tends to underestimate the amount of work she can handle. This goes back all the way to Suited for Success and has been a character trait of her ever since. This also might explain the sheer stupidity of the entire conflict. Renovating the entire boutique on the day of its opening is by all accounts a dumb idea. But it's entirely possible that Rarity underestimated the task of doing it. It is also noteworthy that we don't know how much time actually passed since the Gift of the Mod Pie. I just assume that this episode takes place before A Harsh Warming Tale, as they mentioned that it's still the 4th season. I kinda doubt that they jump forward another 10 months. So it is possible that Rarity actually bought the place only a few weeks ago and simply didn't have the time to prepare everything beforehand, and now rushes the opening because it is, as she said herself, the best time to do it. I also want to return Silver-Quill's favor of featuring a clip of my review by doing the same.
Okay, if Rarity didn't research the boutiques that Sassy managed, then paradoxically, it's all the more reason she needs Sassy Saddles.
I have to agree there. While Rarity has some sense for business, she's mainly an artist. She doesn't think everything through and is somewhat impulsive. Sassy was the one who prepared everything for her, and I think this episode highlights pretty well how much Rarity needs someone like her. But Sassy is responsible for Canterlot Carousel, so Rarity has to take everything in her own hooves. Of course, she seemingly asked Coco Pommel for help, but that's it, she asked her for help. Rarity states herself that Coco already has a lot of responsibilities, so it's likely that she only asked for her temporary support, and not to run her boutique long term like Sassy does in Canterlot. There's also another simple fact we maybe should consider. The events of this episode are told through a framing device. A newspaper article based on an interview with the main 6 written by a reporter who wasn't there. We see bits and pieces of that interview, and it's very apparent that Twilight and Co. spoke very casually about the events of this episode, which is why they freak out after all, as they think they told too much negative details. So it's entirely possible that the events as shown didn't exactly happen like this. For example, while Rarity emphasized that everything must be perfect, she never addresses the elephant in the room. The fact that the place looks like a total dump. She doesn't ask anyone to decorate or to organize new furniture. Her friends only had to deal with minor things that went wrong on that very day that no one could have predicted. At the end, it appears like a miracle that the boutique looks this good. Well, or Alicon magic. What I'm trying to say is, it's a possibility that the place never looked that bad in the first place, and it only appears that way because the Mantics exaggerated the whole thing during the interview, and all what was actually left to do were some finishing touches like organizing the dresses and cleaning the place up before the customers arrive. Of course, this is only a theory, and maybe Twilight simply fixed everything last minute with magic. One of the best things about this episode is that it makes excellent use of the entire cast. In a way, it is similar to Castle Sweet Castle, only that now everyone tries to help Rarity instead of Twilight. The difference is that every action is somewhat sensible. They all try to act in a way they thought Rarity would want them to, which didn't work out with some hilarious results. In Castle Sweet Castle, they didn't really thought about Twilight while decorating the place or about anything at all. The only one who actually didn't do anything completely idiotic in that episode was Rarity, funnily enough. Here they at least try to do things right. The only one who completely messed up is Rainbow Dash. She was the wrong person for the job from the get-go. And while everyone came up with a creative solution to the problem, she just avoided any responsibility by hiring all 3 possible sales assistants. To be fair, this should result in better customer service, but there's no guarantee that they are all actually qualified for the job, and Rarity has to pay 3 ponies now. If I were Rarity in that position, I would actually be kinda pissed. There isn't much to say about the supporting cast in this episode. Mr. Stripe was a jerk, and his daughter Plaid was somewhat annoying. She got a few shuckets out of me, so I'm okay with her inclusion, but if she had any more screen time, she would probably give Snip and Sned some run for the money as most annoying character of the show. Coco basically only appeared to look cute and set up more conflict. And of course there's DJ Pwnefree. She seems to get a lot of screen time lately. But hey, I like her inclusion. The last thing I want to talk about is the framing device. I really like it. It brings something new to the table and feels fresh, as we never had anything like this before. This interview style allows the main cast to add their own thoughts to certain situations, and their commentary is downright hilarious. The interview sections are probably my favorite thing about this episode, especially the revelation that there's another Pinkie Pie clone running around. I really lost it there. Overall, the comedy in this episode was brilliant, at least for me. But let's wrap things up. The Saddle Row review is a pretty unique episode, thanks to its framing device. There are some problems with its setup, and I gave my best to come up with possible explanations, but it doesn't change the fact that some might think it's dumb. There's one thing people should keep in mind: the rule of fun. As long as an episode entertains me, I can ignore some flaws as long as they aren't too jarring. And I personally think that this is one of the funniest episodes of the entire show. But what about you? Did you like this episode? Anything that bothered you? Should we get an episode about Pinkie's clone someday? Let me know in the comments.
That's nice and all, but can we finally order something? I'm 2/3 carnivore and hunger causes some identity issues.
I am Tricky Fox. Stay foxy.
Sly as a fox, you got me under your spell. But you know I'll never tell that I know you know so well. Sometimes you can be too smart for your own good, and you just